hunters and debauchingdeath.blogspot.com dropping lyrical bombs. 17 years in the shadows, tracking, unraveling, we enter the dark, so others may glimpse the light. We enter the dark. We enter the dark.
Trace the hidden, open your mind. We enter the dark so the truth can rise. Walking through shadows with omniscient eyes. Through the silence where secrets hide. The paranormal breathes, the spirit never dies. Lift the veil, trace the rails, let illusions combust. Expose the lies, track the spies, in spirits we trust. They say ghosts are fake, like COVID-19, but I see them manifest crystal clear on my bright screen. People think it's frightening, but boy, I'm striking lightning. Raid your village like a Viking, soul snatching, psyche spiking. No purple in my drink, boy, my Sprite pristine. Spirit calibrated, I'm a hunter in the night scene. Half here, half unseen, the spirits play mean. One misstep on the staircase, a little ghostly perk. A little push might work, can fuck you up like Netanyahu, cursed by the spirit of Charlie Kirk. Cameras hum, EMF spikes, white noise preaching. Every shadow's a cipher, every creek a hieroglyph. We decode the undecoded, reality's manuscript. Shadows orchestrate the city, corruption and masquerade. They lace the laws with lies, then masquerade and charade. Anthropomorphized evil, a cabal of ghastly fiends. Celtic rituals, sowing fire, smoke spiraling to the sky. Sowing phantoms dancing, Samhain shadows multiply. Conspiracies ferment, devils dressed in tailored suits. We light the chambers where cold hands used to play. 17 years in the field, I've seen the veil quake. Strokes of phantom tried to drag that young girl astray. But Debbie's a badass, turned fear into fire. Staked her ground, declared, oh, you know what? I'm just ascending higher. Who got banished? Demon fell to the floor. She rewrote the ending, haunting can't haunt no more. Every conspiracy, every shadow we chase. Unmask the hidden architects, reveal the secret space. Fuck the puppeteers, the anthro demons in disguise. We tie the webs, break the threads, unveil the devil's lies. From paper trails to backroom deals, clandestine meals. We tie the dots, trace the plots, unmask the roots. Veil lifters, truth shifters, spotlight the shadows. Sawing fires burning high, smoke curls like a ghostly smoke.
Welcome to Truth Tellers Radio. This is J.M. Talbot and Shane Clear here. Today we're going to be talking about the paranormal. I've interviewed Shane several times, and so, real quick, that song you just heard is by my hip-hop group, Crash Out Aristocrats. So please go subscribe and check that out at youtube.com/@CrashOutAristocrats. And all kinds of conspiratorial, paranormal, and personal self-improvement kind of music on there and a lot of other stuff. So anyway, but I've interviewed Shane several times, so I invite people to go to Truth Tellers Radio. That's Truth Tellers, plural, radio.blogspot.com. Check out some of our previous shows, because we're going to be skipping over some, but not all of the, get to know you kind of, how did you get into this kind of questions. We're going to get into some deeper things today. So, and as far as my paranormal investigation stuff, check me out at debunkingdeath.blogspot.com. Shane, first off, tell everybody where they can find your work at. Give some links out and where people can find everything you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. So, you can look us up on Facebook. Just type in Central Illinois Ghost Hunters. We have a fan page, and we have a actual, main page. If you could, just give that a like and scroll through and see if you like anything or not. And also, I just started a new YouTube channel about 5 months ago, and you can find that at CIGH 2008. So I posted, the way I'm doing YouTube now is I'm just going straight to evidence. So that's what people want to watch. They don't want to sit there for hours on end watching boring content, so I get down to the nitty gritty, and all I post is strictly content. So hope you guys like it, and if you can, just subscribe and I hope you're subscribed to, James, also.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, people get enough of that filler content on all the ghost shows on TV, that's for sure. So, all right, so to start off, we won't get too much into it, but just let people know how long you've been doing this at least, a little bit of background. If you want to get into what got you into it real quick, we can just give a quick summary.
All right, yeah. What got me into it was a college called Eureka College in Eureka, Illinois. My ex-girlfriend, or my girlfriend at the time, got free dorm living, so then we moved her into the dorm, and then shortly after that, one night I went there to go visit her, and we're just sitting in the bed and just chit-chatting, and midnight struck, and exactly at midnight, the light cover in her room, which she was on the second floor, and there was no floors above her to, like, vibrate the ceiling, but the light cover fell and hit the ground, and right after that, a big old burst of cold air came into the room, and we were, like, looking at each other like, what was that? Because I knew nothing about the paranormal at the time. So then after my mind cleared a little bit, I got out of the bed, I put a chair underneath that light, and I started pounding on this. So basically, the paranormal came to me like just raw. I mean, I knew nothing about it. So then I went ahead, and I knew nothing about debunking. So I got a chair, and I put a chair under it, and I started hitting the ceiling to see if it would fall out again. And it was one of those covers that you have to push up, slide over, and then drop down. And then after I did that, for some odd reason, I went out to my car and grabbed a digital camera. So I'm just sitting there taking pictures, and like I said, I knew nothing about paranormal, and I captured a bright orb. Like, just, it stood alone. I'm not a huge believer in orbs, but it actually stood, and I don't have the picture because it's been so long, but it's been close to, well, I've been doing it 17 years, so that'll answer another question. So, yeah, 17 years ago is when this happened, so I don't have the picture anymore, but it was a bright orb that was in front of her roommate's closet. So then the next night, I wasn't there the next night. She was there by herself, and midnight struck again, and the light cover fell again, and then she heard typing on a laptop in her room for like 2 hours. So then we dug into it a little bit, and come to find out there was a 13-year-old girl named Lyda Ford that lived on the property in a house, and the house caught fire, and she was 13 years old and ended up passing away. So they call it Lyda's Woods because there's like some trees crowded like in that little area. So they actually had Lyda Ford on their website. So she was a well-known ghost that haunts the campus, and I came face-to-face with her. That's what got me into it.
Very cool. I mean, it's interesting, one, because you had no preconceived notions, so what you were experiencing was just out the gate, you know. I think that speaks to the authenticity of it. Secondly, on the orb thing, I can attest to that too. Yeah, a lot of them are dust and, illuminated by a flash and stuff like that. You're very much aware of that at this point. So looking back upon it, I'm sure you know that it didn't really fit that bill. And yeah, stuff does get lost over time. We used to have my old group, Proof Paranormal, had a Facebook page, or not Facebook, MySpace page, where we had a self-illuminated orb that came into a room where we were supposed to have a lamp turned on because it was not an IR camera, just a regular camera. And this thing comes in, does a loop-de-loop. We tried to recreate this with flashlights. You could always see it shining on us, shining on the walls. It was in the middle of winter, so it wasn't bugs. We just, it was paranormal. So I know that they exist for real. So I've got a list of 20 questions here. They're a lot different than the questions we went through in the other shows. And after I ask each one, I will just kind of give my quick synopsis of how I feel about it a little bit. Not too much. The questions are for you mainly, but I will get a little bit more in depth than what I've written here. But first question is, after years of investigations, do you think ghosts are external entities or more like psychic echoes, energy imprints, or projections of human consciousness? I'll say this, the first time we investigated that place where I got that orb, it was the Hannah House, a famously haunted house in Indianapolis, Indiana, where it's supposed to have been part of the Underground Railroad, and slaves had died there. They have never really verified that story, but I can tell you that it looks like it was true from being in there because there's a bookcase upstairs that turns around like Scooby-Doo and goes straight to the basement.
Wow.
I'm assuming that was why that was. So, it's like investigators came in and were looking for slaves upstairs, you just move them downstairs. And then once they go downstairs, you just move them back up. Just play a game of, the revolving doors like Scooby-Doo, actually.
That's cool.
And maybe at this time they couldn't come back up, and that's why, they were stuck in the basement. Who knows if a fire was set intentionally, or who knows what happened. But anyway, so one of the investigators, he was one of our most skeptical, and he got an EVP that day. He didn't listen to me. He asked 2 questions too close back to back. But he said, are ghosts real, and do you believe in God? And then he got a yes. And then he said to me, well, what if I projected that on there with my mind? And I said, well, that'd still be pretty damn paranormal, wouldn't it? But a lot of people get into the paranormal because they want to know if this is actually proof of life after death. So this is why I asked that question. Poltergeists are considered to maybe come from human emotions. EVPs could be dimensional entities. Like, how do we know that they're really deceased people? One thing I've heard is that there's voice matching done sometimes that matches the human voice of the deceased. But so I want your take on it. So again, the question just at face value is, after years of investigations, do you think ghosts are external entities or more like psychic echoes, energy imprints, or projections of human consciousness?
I think of spirits as like, it's kind of hard to explain. Basically, you have your residual, you have your intelligence, you have spirits that just jump from place to place to place. You'll have spirits attached to certain items.
Well, can you explain the first 2 things you said there a little bit? What's residual versus intelligent?
Yeah, residual is like a pattern. It's a repeated pattern that happens at like a certain time all the time. Not necessarily like every day, but it's just like around the same time, like the cabinet door.
So it's like energy that's imprinted on the area, but not necessarily consciousness.
Correct. And I think that is more or less like has to do with like DNA, like living in the same house for years and years and years, their imprint is in that house. Kind of like the house that I'm in. If I can make a point
on that real quick, they have something called the phantom DNA effect. People can look this up because I'll probably butcher it, but essentially they can use some kind of lighting. I don't know if it's UV. It's probably something more than UV. I don't know what it is, but
full spectrum is better.
It might
than
be full
IR.
spectrum. When somebody's sitting in a chair, for instance, if they get up and then you shine this certain kind of light on it, again, I might be butchering this, but the point is that there's a phantom left sitting there that you can see. And they say it's because of the DNA of the person, like, but it's still some of it's there because you were just there. Meaning, like, it lends credence to the idea that we do leave energy behind everywhere we go. And then if something is very traumatic, like a murder or somebody dies suddenly and they didn't know they were going to die, yeah, I could see how that could leave energy. But what about, like, what's some of the evidence of, like, in like actual consciousness, life after death evidence that you've not just gathered of yourself, but seen from paranormal investigating?
I mean, I could start with the house that I live in currently. Okay. My house was built in 1953. When we first looked at this house, we were like, oh, heck no, because everything was an old person's house. Everything was carpeted. It smelled like that flower old person smell. And like we still get the hint of it. And it's been like 13 years now. But when we bought the house, we started doing the demo. So then I was down in the basement by myself, and I was pulling carpet squares off of the laundry sink tub. And as I was there, I looked over, and I seen a shadow person go from one of the rooms and then dart up the stairs. And knowing me, I take off running after it. So then I chase it up the stairs to find nothing. And I was
how do we know that that's not like an interdimensional being? Like, is there stuff that you found that indicates life after death? Like, is there something like, has there been a residence maybe where somebody lost somebody and there's evidence it's like a loved one they're dealing with?
Well, that's just it. I've never witnessed that again since then. It was like a one time. So that kind of tells me that it's not. It's not residual. Not residual. Because it's never happened again. And then I've also had a lot more stuff happen. Then supposedly the woman was in a hospital bed, and she was in the dining room, so she can look out the window on hospice and everything. But every now and then I see shadows like peeking around the corner, like in the hallway. I've been sleeping and I was laying in bed and I seen something block out the window from the right to the left. I've heard my name being whispered in my ear. Like, I've had so many occurrences in my own home, but I don't witness any of that anymore.
Okay. That definitely speaks to it being intelligent, but not necessarily being a human spirit. What about evidence of human spirits that are deceased people that their spirit is sticking around for whatever reason? Have you seen evidence of that in your own investigating or just in general?
I've seen a lot.
I mean, pick a few, I guess.
I will pick my girlfriend. We ended up finding her dad passed away in his own home.
Okay.
He died January 21st of 21. And the night in which we found him 3 days later, but the night he passed away, Lisa is my girlfriend's name, she was sitting on the couch and actually seen an apparition of somebody in the hallway, which we assume was her dad after he passed away coming to visit. So we took his dog. He had 2 Pomeranians. One died of an enlarged heart, and then he had the other one. So we took in that dog, and then one night she was getting ready for bed, and she seen the dog walk out of the hallway, through the dining room, through the kitchen, and she followed this dog and was talking to the dog. It got to the door and then just disappeared. So, to me, I think that was her dad showing her that he is with Emma, the dog, that everything is okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had a thing where I didn't know that my aunt had died. And that night I saw an apparition. And it's funny, I've had so much paranormal stuff happen that I'm sure there's been time. Like you interviewed me about Bigfoot a while back. I neglected to mention that I was doing Bigfoot calls in the woods one night and saw a little green fireball about the size of a baseball fall from the top of the sky and then just fall down 3 or 4 feet and then disappear. I just forgot. Like, I've had so much paranormal stuff happen. And then people wonder, well, why do you have all this stuff happen? Well, I've been looking for it my whole life. And when you look for it, and especially once you find it, then you really start to find it. It's like it finds you, like you had said. But anyway, I've seen an apparition of, twice. Once with a witness, and I always question when I see things on my own, but that night I had seen an apparition. Now, I might just say, hey, I was in bed, so maybe it was a hypnopompic hallucination. Maybe I was asleep and I didn't think I was, right? But I also caught an EVP that night. And then then I had a dream that night that my aunt was in heaven and there was other family members in heaven and like sitting in the clouds, literally in heaven around it like a dinner table eating, and everybody was happy to see me, and including I remember seeing her there. And then I found out she died the next night. I didn't even know, or the next day I didn't even know that she had been sick. So to me that's more than coincidence. But that's fine. We'll call it a day on that question. We got to get through 20 of these. So next question is, have you ever encountered a case that made you question whether we might be the ones haunting them, like a two-way haunting across timelines? To expand on that a little bit, basically, there's people that think that time is not linear, that it's kind of cyclical, or that it's that you could kind of look at it like it's already there. It's just a place in time that we go, our souls go. But and you can get into like the quantum physics and all this kind of stuff to explain why this is possible, and I'm not going to get that deep. But you can look at it kind of like a videotape. Like you're watching The Sopranos, and that it ends up bad for him. You know what happens for him, but he doesn't know it in the moment as a character. In that, if he was to, incarnate into that soul, and this is kind of how I look at it from a lot of different research I've done. So I think kind of like we have free will, but I kind of think it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book. I think that, and there's evidence to indicate that we kind of plan these lives to a certain point, and then there's points where we fork and we make choices that really matter. But anyway, with looking at things like in a context like that, how do we know that, if I'm sitting there doing an investigation, like, and this has been, I think it's been referenced in movies, like maybe The Others, things like that. I can't remember which movie it would be particularly, but to where you think that you're interacting with a ghost and you're really interacting with somebody from the past and you're just communicating with them. Like, do you think that that's possible? Have you seen any evidence of such things to where it could be something very strange going on, but not necessarily a ghost in like a traditional sense.
I mean, typically, I know I get feelings. I get the chills going up and down my body, and I just feel like it, like when I'm at work, where I work currently. I mean, it's a manufacturing place, and it's haunted. I've had stuff happen to me there. But, like, there was a case that I did. It was actually my very first residential case that I've ever done. Her name was Sally, and her husband died of N1H1. He caught that as a cop working in the jail. And he would interact with us. Like, so I know spirits can, like, interact like they're physical, like they're right in front of us. Because I would tell him he would leave dimes. So I'd say, hey, Dan, can you leave a dime in the living room? And then we would walk out of the room, come back in the room, and there'd be a dime right there in the living room. Like he would do stuff like on command, which was really, really cool. Definitely being my first residential ghost hunt. It was just cool when you're asking for stuff. You know how hard it is to get responses when you ask for a spirit to communicate. It's rare. I mean, but like Dan would he would interact like he was sitting right in front of us, and it was the coolest thing ever. That was probably still is my favorite case I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to question one, which is very cool. Like, it does indicate an intelligent spirit of a human being. But, like, imagine this, like, you're doing it, you're investigating someplace, right? And you hear something, you think you hear something, you go, what was that? Is it possible that somebody in the 1800s is around a Ouija board and they hear a voice go, what was that? And they think it's a ghost, but it's you from now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if there's any evidence of such a thing, but I definitely think something like that could be possible.
I mean, I think you're right. And you were talking about earlier when we chatted about this, you were talking about, like, do they know our technology now? I would have to say no. I mean,
yeah, I had something come across the spirit box one time that said they wanted the box, and I assumed they were talking about my phone. See what I mean? They didn't know it was a phone, but they knew it was something. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, can't leave you the box. I was like, I'll put a dream catcher here for you if you want. I thought it was native spirits.
Honestly, I think there's questions that we will never have answers for.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't like to lose my sense of wonderment.
Going back to that Sally case, I even asked if there was a heaven or a hell, and I did get a response. And what it was kills, and then him wheezing, and then it does. So I don't know if he was talking about the virus he ended up getting, because it affects your breathing, But when I said, is there a heaven or a hell, all he said was kills, it does.
Yeah, so I worked at the hospital. I was made to take the H1N1 vaccine, and I think I had an autoimmune response to it, so I've had psoriatic arthritis ever since. So it's definitely something nasty. But, yeah, that would be horrible. That's one of the things I think. But dying with not being able to breathe would be some of the worst.
Oh, for sure. I feel like you're suffocated.
All right, question 3. What's your take on the idea that paranormal activity might increase around people, not places? That certain personalities attract phenomena. Now, of course, there's poltergeists, and parapsychologists kind of have long put out the idea that like teenage girls going through hormonal changes might actually affect the movement of things around the house. They're doing these things subconsciously, so that's one way to think about it. But then, like I said, how once you start to have paranormal things happen, they tend to keep happening and more at an increasing pace. And interestingly enough, it's not just, oh, I'm a ghost hunter, so now I see ghosts everywhere. No, now you're going to see maybe UFOs or Bigfoot or anything else. Like, it seems like there's even people that question whether there's one, like, super intelligent, crazy consciousness that is responsible for a lot of this phenomenon, to where it kind of masquerades as things that it's really not, You could say maybe something demonic, pretending like it's an alien, or you know what I mean? Like, and so you go, well, does that mean they're all demons? Well, maybe not. Like, maybe demons pretend to be aliens, but aliens are really real too. Like it's there's so many possibilities, and I do like to get answers, but I do, like you said, no, we'll probably never get them all, and I don't want them all. Like, I hate it when people lose their sense of wonderment about the world. I really do. True. But yeah, do you think that people become haunted in a sense?
I would have to say yes. I mean, I think people open themselves up more than others, you know, and like being like you and I going out looking for it, we're showing interest in that, so they're going to gravitate towards that energy because they know like they don't have to try that hard to communicate with like you or I,
right?
You know,
right. And
trying to get and trying to get skeptics to believe. You know, that's the biggest thing.
Think about you're in a house, you just want to get this person's attention to say, hey, I'm here, and they freak out. You know, and you're like, I'm just trying to say I'm here. You know what I mean? It's like, so me and you don't assume just because we hear or see something that it's bad. We're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I run right towards it. I'm like, more, please.
Oh, yeah, that's like me. I mean, but a lot of it has to do with energy. A lot of it has to do with the energy that people carry with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
perhaps the frequency they vibrate at, some would say.
Yeah, some carry bad energy, some carry good energy, some carry neutral energy, and like spirits can feel that. I mean, because they're all energy, you know, they operate with frequencies and energy.
Yeah, and for anybody that thinks that sounds silly, go look at cymatics, where they take sand, they put it on a plate, and then they vibrate that at a certain frequency, and it'll make these amazing geometric patterns. That proves to you right there the frequency takes form, that it really has a I mean, Nikola Tesla said that everything is energy. You know, everything is frequency. So, very slept on science, and maybe not so much anymore. But yeah, I think he's right up there with Einstein for sure. All right, question 4: have you noticed patterns in when activity occurs, like emotions, weather, geomagnetic storms, the mood of the team affecting the results? To expand on that a little bit more, I know some people track moon phases. We know that the moon affects the tides. We are mostly made of water. I've heard from, I don't know how many, my ex-wife was an RN. She said every time there's a full moon, you can bet the ER is going to be full of crazies. Or not just crazies, but just people in general, but definitely, you know, the crazies too. Like all kinds, it affects people. You have the myths of the werewolf being affected by the full moon, but then you wonder, because there's dogman reports, and definitely through Pennsylvania, there's that. Maybe it's misidentified Sasquatch, or maybe people really do see something like that sometimes. Maybe shapeshifters are real. I don't know. All I know is that I don't know a lot of things. The more I think I know, the more I don't. And they, you know, Socrates said that that's the beginning of wisdom, and I believe that. But so yeah, which of any of those do you think has merit, or all of them, or what do you think?
I mean, honestly, I think, like you were saying, the moon. You know, there's moon that plays a part. Just energy. You know, somebody could walk into a haunted location, said like a skeptic, you know, and nothing happens at all.
Right,
you know, and then you or I go into that place with our energy, and we could make pictures like fly off the walls.
And here's the funny thing about that. Just to real quick interject. They did experiments where this guy would talk to water. This Dr. Emoto, I think his name was, but he would talk to water.
Like a bucket of water.
Yeah, he would take water under slides, and he would, like, some of them he would say, I love you, and say good things to them. The other one, I hate you, and this and that. And the ones that he was mean to would be all disorganized, and the ones that he was nice to, they would look like pretty snowflakes and things like this. And some people have duplicated this, and then some people have tried, but it didn't happen for them, but they were skeptical. But you see, this is a consciousness experiment. And my friend who's an atheist, he's like, well, that's a cop-out. I said, but is it? I said, because if it's consciousness-based and you don't think it's going to happen, it's not going to. You've messed up the experiment from the very start. You have to believe it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like, I seen an experiment where someone, like, got a bucket of water and was, like, hitting it and creating ripples and doing something with, like, the ripples in the water. And then I've also seen where people would get fog and put fog up in the air, and, like, it would, like, take form of, like, the fog. It would use the fog and take form. You know, I've heard of that too. I mean, but I don't know. I think it all comes down to energy. I mean, basically, I mean, spirits can't, that's what they are. They're energy. I mean, so without energy, it's going to be hard for them to be who they are, because they feed off of energy, just like cryptids and stuff, you know, like people are like bringing all these cryptids and stuff to life just by like making them up. They're made up characters that are like starting to come to life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would work both ways. Yeah, then tulpas, that's interesting. I think it's funny that people believe Slender Man can be a tulpa, but then if you tell them Jesus is a thing, that, oh, they discount that. I'm like, so Jesus couldn't be a tulpa? Like, wouldn't a lot of energy be, like, Jesus is a real person. Most historians will agree on that. We can talk about divinity or not, but I would say he got authority. His authority that he had was from at least the perception of his divinity, which his apostles died for. Like the Apostle Paul, they tried to get him to say it didn't happen. He said it did, and they killed him. People don't die for lies; they die for what they believe is truth, anyway. But think about if a spirit is being bad to you, then that's going to make a bad effect on you, possibly. But then think about just a person. Think about somebody you've been mean to yourself in the past, and that you're in these water experiments. Well, they're 70% water. You're being mean to them. You're making their body disharmonious. It makes me feel bad about times I've been mean to people. You know what I mean? Like. So I guess there's a lesson to be garnered there. Yeah, I guess follow up on that. Is there any, like, when there's a negative energy in a place, is there any way to shift that if the entity wants to be negative? Have you ever found that you can change that energy by trying to be nice or trying to ask what they want? If there's anything they like, do you think you've ever helped an entity in any way? Like, it's something I always try to do. Like, is there anything you want to tell me that I can pass on, or do you need me to try to help in some way or anything like that?
I try, like what you just said. I try. I'll speak to it. I'll be nice to it. Just because it's claimed to be mean or demonic doesn't mean you have to be mean or hostile towards it.
I would probably hurt it if you weren't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kill them with kindness.
Yeah, kill them with kindness, honestly. If they say demons feed on fear, so don't give it to them. Don't give them what they want.
Yeah, just ask if it needs help and ask how you can help. And just, now if it says, give me your soul, I mean, turn around and walk away. I mean.
All right. All right, so and say no. Question number 5: Do you think modern technology, cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, 5G, EMF, pollution, do you think it interferes with spirit communication, or do you think it makes it easier? My personal opinion, I think it probably does both. It probably depends.
I think it helps.
What if you live close to a 5G tower, though? You think that could it could help get evidence? Because one thing I've noticed is, like, I was always taught, through my paranormal investigating, I have a diploma for what it's worth in paranormal studies, like correspondence classes, and then just through investigating and whatnot, we were always, one thing is, like, if I would do EMF readings by somebody's bed who said they were seeing things and the EMF readings were really high, we say, well, that causes hallucinations. Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's a debunk, or maybe because that energy is so high, it allows those things to manifest, and so they really are experiencing something. But either way, I would tell them, look, it's 90 milligauss by where you lay your head. That's like a microwave. You might want to change your wires, move to a new house, or get a new room, But so I don't know what to think of that. Like, it could be bad for the people that are living there, even if it increases paranormal, at least, right?
Yep. You took my answer right out of my mouth. So we did do a case out in the country where the power lines were coming in right by a window that this kid was sleeping in. And like you said, EMF, like high electricity, I mean, that can create you to be sick. You can, like you were just saying, you can hallucinate. I mean, you could think something's happening when it's not. But yeah, we ended up debunking it with a EMF meter, that was like super high EMF right where that power line was coming to the house.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
and like
there is sickness from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think all that.
You can't get physically sick really bad. You can have like COVID type symptoms from really high EMF and stuff. Yep.
I think all that plays a part in helping paranormal because, like I said, it has to do with frequencies, EMF and Wi-Fi and all that. What is that? That's like, well, Wi-Fi definitely. That's frequencies.
Yeah.
That's gonna help paranormal activity.
And it also helps just the argument for the paranormal. It's like,
but then what about
go ahead.
What about aliens? Do you think these cell phone towers and Wi-Fi are gonna make us see more aliens?
Depends on what an alien is. We'll get to that in another podcast, I guess. I tend to think that what we say are aliens. I think they might. I actually have a thesis that they are everything people say they are. They're aliens. They're demonic in a sense. They are future humans. I think it's possible that they are future humans that have become merged with AI, have kind of lost their soul to an extent, which makes them demonic to some extent. I think they might be trying to either learn from what they made. Like, I don't know how timelines really work or anything. They might be just doing it to learn or to take back genetic material where they're from, even if it's not our definite future, you know what I mean? But then are they aliens? Well, if they are from the time, if they're time travelers, that means they travel in time, which means they travel in space, which means they could have colonized other worlds. So at that point, they might be distant descendants of ours, but are still very alien to us and are still very demonic compared to what we consider, you know, because if you know about gray aliens in depth, if you've read the academic material, they don't breathe. They don't take in breath. They're at least partly synthetic, right? They're not like us, right? They don't have genitalia.
Do they not even eat?
They might take in some type of substance, not quite like we do, but then people say they smell because they might excrete through their skin.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that pops up a lot. We'll have to do a whole show on that, so stay tuned for that, folks. Anything else you want to say on that one before we move on?
No, we can keep moving.
Okay. All right. If ghosts are real, what do you think they want? Recognition, release, or are they just as confused as the living? And one thing I'll say about this, a tiny expansion, is that Art Bell used to play EVPs a lot, and he would play, and that's a famous radio host from who's now deceased, if anybody doesn't know, but he would play, EVPs of children, and they would sound confused and lost, and he's thinking, boy, oh boy, I think I have some ideas about the afterlife, but what is going on if there's lost souls of children? Like, what is that? Like, what kind of system has left them behind to be so confused and, about things? And it's sad. Like, that's a sad thought. So I guess you could get into what that implies, perhaps, about the afterlife. I would like to think there's some kind of system in place that's supposed to work. And, there's the whole idea of a soul trap, and that maybe it's not a good system necessarily. So that's an idea. There's people can look into that. Or up top on debunkingdeath.blogspot.com, I have a whole thing about the soul trap idea, that this is kind of like a reincarnation trap that we're in. But regardless of that, the kind of system people think of, like, you're good, you go to heaven, this and that. Well, why is a child left behind? And I mean, I would think it depends on the spirit, probably, what's going on and why. But what say you?
See, I heard that demons act as child spirits because humans like us are like more susceptible of contacting a so-called child,
right?
And I'm thinking that, which I mean, I've been in a house where I said, do you need any kind of help? If so, can you say help me? And I had I have it on my phone, and you hear a little girl say, help me. And we heard that without equipment. Like, we actually heard that with our own ears.
Wow. So this definitely raises enough. Go ahead. Continue.
I was going to say, so could that have been a demon, or is that a real child? And if
some people are going to say, some people are screaming at us right now, they're all demons, guys. They're all demons. Okay, but that takes us back full circle to the first question. All demons. Well, what's a demon? An interdimensional being. But does that mean just because they exist that human spirits also exist? But it would make the question of, like, why is that happening? I feel bad for that child. It would explain that for sure. What do you say to people say that it's all demons? That it's all just demons masquerading as human spirits?
I mean, I do believe in demons. Demons are real. They are out there. I actually so basically, in the 17 years that I've been doing this, I've only came across, personally, one demon. That's it. In 17 years. That implies
there was something definitely evil you could sense with that, whereas the other ones, if it was a demon, you can't figure what the hell they would be up to because they weren't doing anything bad. Is that it?
Well, I can usually feel it out. Like, I have the gift of where I can walk into a place and I can tell you if it's haunted, and I can tell you if it's bad or not, just by feeling it, because I get to where I start gagging. If it's an evil, evil, evil spirit, I'll start gagging like I'm going to throw up, but I don't. But I just get that sense of, like, throwing up. You know,
I know some people get like that. I think I get angry. It makes me mad, and maybe I'm picking up on their anger. I don't know, but I tend to try to provoke them and stuff like that. But yeah, I can feel a heaviness in some places. It's not always bad when there's a heaviness, but I was in the prison, the Shawshank Redemption prison, whatever it's called. I can't remember the real name of it is, but it's where they filmed Shawshank Redemption. It's a real prison. But we got orbs that were, I would say, okay, there's dust in here for sure. But then we were like sat there and filmed for like 20 minutes, and they just kept flying around everywhere the whole time. And we had got EVPs in that same place where it repeated what I said. I said, "Do you get sick of people coming through here?" And it said, "People," and repeated people back to me.
Oh, nice.
So it was definitely intelligent. And then we kept filming these orbs, and they just kept going and going and going and going. And I stuck my hand in, and it felt cold and it felt heavy, like you were putting your hand into like a really not very dense bog or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would just say like there's hauntings where there's nothing malicious that can be garnered from it in any way, shape, or form. Not just a feeling, but nothing bad happens. You know what I mean? There's people that cohabitate houses where they know there's a ghost there, and it's just there, and they're fine. You know, if that's a demon, it's not doing a good job because they're just living normal lives, being good people, and it's not affecting them in any way that can be seen. That'd be my argument.
I don't think every spirit's a demon. So right. That's my answer. That's my answer. I don't think they're all demons. There are some out there, but they're not all demons.
This next one, I think we kind of answered this already. If you have anything else to say, fine. If not, we'll move on. But it was, do you believe it's possible to haunt? Do you believe it's possible to haunt yourself to be followed by your own unresolved energy or trauma? So essentially, could PTSD manifest as something paranormal? You know, like something like that?
I would say, yeah, in a way, because people that have been in war, like you said, PTSD, they'll be laying in bed and they'll like hear a little noise and like freak out and roll down and cover their heads up and
yeah. But I mean, even in a non-paranormal sense, that is you being haunted by your trauma one way or another. Yeah, for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Or nightmares.
There's a lot of people that have PTSD. I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I couldn't tell you why. I've had a lot of things happen in my life. I've been shot at a couple times. That could be it. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of people running around with PTSD that don't realize it. And if you know that you have it, then you can deal with it. But so I guess that'd be my good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I still relive that demon case that I did. I still relive that like every day of my life.
Do you want to do a little recap on that real quick?
We can. I'll never forget it. So we got a call from this lady. Her name is Lisa. She lived in Canton, Illinois. And she claimed that she had a demon like everybody else. She claimed to have a demon in her house and wanted us to go check it out. So I said, yeah, that's fine. But then all of a sudden, after talking to her, I just felt different, you know? So, like, we're heading to her house, and I start getting flashes in my head. So I had a flash of a cellar door with a dirt basement, you know, and it's just like, it was real vivid. So then we get to her house, and she answers the door with a gun. Because that's how on edge she was. On edge, she was going like days without eating, days without sleep. It was the demon just draining her, you know. And she was going through oppression, borderline possession. So she was actually experiencing just about possession. So she lets us in the house, and I was like, "Where's your basement?" And you think of a cellar door, you think of on the outside of the house, correct?
Yeah.
This cellar door was inside the house, right in the middle of the house. I've never seen a house like that before. You know, I've worked at Terminex as an exterminator. You know, I've been into a lot of dark, damp places.
Yeah, I have too. I can't say that I've ever seen that either.
Yeah, so she takes me to the cellar door. She opens it up, and we go down there, and it's a dirt basement, exactly how I seen it in my flashes, you know. And then I'm like, all right, where's your attic? So then she takes us up the stairs. So you go up the stairs. Well, you go in through the front door, and you take an immediate right, and then the first door on your right's their master bedroom. And if you keep going straight, the stairs are right there. So then you go up the stairs, there's a little landing, and then the daughter's room's on the right, the son's room's on the left. So then I was like, where's your attic? So then she takes me to the daughter's room on the right and said, there's the attic. It's a little tiny opening. I probably wouldn't even be able to fit in it. And plus it was an A-frame house, so you wouldn't even be able to stand up in it. So then she gets a step ladder, and I stick my head up there, and I'm looking in this attic, and then one of the ladies that was with us came around the corner and said, he's at the far end of the attic. He's crouched down, and he does not want to be messed with. And she's referring to the demon. So when she said that, I felt it running at me. Like, I literally felt this thing running directly at my face. So then I grabbed my phone, or the camera I had, and I snapped a picture and got a picture of an orb, like, right in my face. So then that's what started the night. I pissed it off with that. So then we start investigating, and then we go into the son's room, and I'm at the far corner of the room. There's a closet behind me. Everybody else is in front of me. So we're trying to communicate with this demon, and I felt my shirt being played with. So I've just felt it like tugging on my shirt a little bit, and I thought it was just getting caught on my pants. So I shrugged my shoulders, and then I stood even more still. And then this thing literally yanks my shirt from the right to the left to the right to the left, and then pulls back super hard to where it makes me go off balance towards the closet. So then it startled me, obviously. So I didn't run like full force, but I kind of like booked it towards like getting the heck out of the house. So then Lisa was standing on top of the stairs, and all of a sudden I just stopped dead in my tracks. And I locked eyes on Lisa, and I said, Lisa, go downstairs. She's like, I can't move. I was like, go downstairs. She was like, I can't move. And she was like 90 pounds. And I put both of my hands on her shoulders, and I pushed as hard as I could, and she would not budge at all. It was like a concrete pillar. And then I went outside at that time, and shortly after that, we left.
And you did get, and that's the investigation where you got the demon hand that showed up on the mirror, is that right?
Yes. We noticed handprints on the mirror. There was like 12 by 12 mirrors in the son's room, and there was like multiple handprints.
Yeah,
going up the mirror.
Previous interviews of yours, I have that picture in there, and you can find it at Shane's material as well. But yeah, it's a huge hand. It's not a human hand. It looks like a huge, massive hand, just like you would think, like a stereotypical, like, you know, not that the demon even looks like they're purported to look. A lot of that comes from like Dante's Inferno and different things, not necessarily biblical, but still, it is what it looked like. It looked like a giant clawed hand. And I even looked at it thinking, and you guys knew it wasn't on the mirror, and then you saw it on the mirror. You know, nobody made it, but I even looked at it, and I'm like, you can see where the fingers split. You know, like on our fingers, we have 3 sections. You can see the section. You can, like, if somebody made that, they'd had to make that like a work of art without you noticing. Do you know what I mean? It's
like the skin was being peeled back on the fingers too.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the time here. We're not going to get through 20 today. We'll aim for just getting through the 10 here, and then we'll just follow it up with a different interview if that's fine with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
A few things I wanted to say related to some things. One is you keep talking about these basically psychic impressions that you're getting now. I used to get those too, but didn't know what it was. I always just thought, because when I was in the Hannah house, for instance, I went in the basement and I saw a flash but like in my head, but I visually saw it, of like a black woman in a bonnet and like, you know, the old timey, like, you know, the apron and all that kind of stuff. And then it was gone. And I'm like, I think I saw something. And they're like, did you? And I'm like, I don't know. And so that's the thing. Like, you see a lot of these older people that really have tuned into their psychic abilities, and they'll tell you almost always that that's how this works. You don't know what the hell's going on at first and that's why they don't really start getting really good at it till they're a little older, because then they start to realize, no, that is a vision you're having, and you got to tap into that. And I mean, I've had precognitive. We're all psychic to some degree. I think it's latent stuff in our DNA that we need to tap into. I don't know why we can't. I don't know if we've been stifled, if we've been played with, because we supposedly have all this junk DNA. But regardless, I've had precognitive experiences where I was behind a truck driving with a hitch on it, and I just thought that hitch is going to mess up. And I had no reason to think so. It looked fine. I moved over, and when you know it, the hitch started going everywhere and sparking all over the road. Kind of like a Final Destination vision I had, you know. So related to that, if you want to test your psychic abilities, there's an app called RV Tournament. It means remote viewing tournament. And remote viewing is just like very specific type of psychic ability where you focus on a target. The military used it. There's a movie about it, The Men Who Stare at Ghosts, where the military tried to use it to like find out where this terrorist is or whatever. With the app, what it does is there's two pictures. You don't get to see either of them at first. And then you're supposed to picture your future self that is going to see the picture the next day because you have to wait 24 hours. There are practice ones, but you got to wait 24 hours to see the picture. And then, you wait 24 hours to see which picture it is. At first, you don't see either one. You just get a sketch pad and you meditate and you just try to think of what it is. And so you draw whatever you think it's going to be, and then they show you the two pictures of that day. And like the first time I tried it, there was a kid's face, and then there was a mountain with a sunset. And I had seen something round. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't draw it, but I did draw the mountain. But the thing is, that was not the picture they picked for the next day. See, I was seeing the right stuff, part of the right stuff, but the wrong picture. So not only do you have to get the picture right or elements of it, but then you have to pick which picture it is, because like you're in the future, you get to see both of them, but you don't know which one's the actual one that they wanted you to focus on. So it's pretty interesting. They're getting a success rate of over chance by like 55, and then like if people do really good on there, they pay the money, and then they've even been taking the people that are good at it and using it to bet on the stock market. They've been doing well. They've been doing better than they should be doing. So anyway, that's something people can look into. As far as like a kid's voice, I did an investigation where there was this place called the Innis Mansion. It looked like the Amityville house. We had a psychic with us that told us there was an oppressive spirit that was keeping a child there, and they had seen a child there, and I got a child's voice on tape there, and I said, "Can I take your picture?" And it said, "I think," and it said it clearly. I mean, it was a Class A EVP, so that's another possibility with that. It could be other spirits that are trapping spirits here, like an evil type spirit, maybe demonic something. But so I just wanted to add all that stuff, and then I was taking notes while I was listening to you. So
I got something else real quick. Mm-hmm. So we ended up, I didn't go to this case, but I sent the team at the time to Buckley, Illinois to do a case. And one of the guys that was on my team, his daughter tagged along, and she took the digital recorder and she set it on the table in the living room and just pressed record and just sat back and just in silence. And what she captured was what sounds like a kid's voice saying, "Help, help, help me, pray, help me." And then it like mumbles something else right after that.
Interesting.
I mean, I can send it to you too. I'll send it to you after this.
Yeah,
and
sure,
I want to know it's crystal clear. And then it pauses a while, and then you hear her say, "If there's anybody here, can you move the ball on the table?" You know, like she did not even react to it.
Okay. No guarantees to anybody listening. I might include it with this. I know the last interview I said I was going to include a whole bunch of screenshots and stuff. I didn't do it because I've been so busy. I was just trying to get stuff out. So sometimes it'll be just a static image, but when I can add more, I will. But yeah, I would like to hear it. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'll send you that help me. I'll send you that help me one that I captured, that little girl, and then I'll send you this one.
Okay. So just a few, and if you think we already covered these, or you just want to skip it, that's fine. We're trying to aim for about an hour. We're about there, so let's try to run through these last three real quick. Has there ever been an investigation where something non-supernatural was way creepier than anything paranormal that happened, or anything paranormal you've seen? Give me something like you're in a factory looking for ghosts and there's a tiger in there, or something that scared you way more than a ghost ever could. Just anything like that. Because that's one thing I've told people. Like, I remember I was investigating an area where it was supposed to be haunted, and I heard like screams of a woman that were like ghastly. I definitely heard these. And later on, and I stuck around and investigated, but I did it like quietly, trying to take, like I'm approaching it like that had to be paranormal. And later I'm like, that could have been a person getting killed in the fucking woods. I should have like been screaming, "Hey, like, does somebody need help?" You know what I mean? So like, definitely don't forget that the normal is way more normal than the paranormal.
I've got one.
Okay.
So yeah, we investigated Indiana State Sanatorium, and we were walking around the building to get back to our car on the other side of the hospital, and I heard screams coming from the woods. And to me, I thought it was Bigfoot. I was like, "It's got to be Bigfoot," because it was like these loud, echoing screams. And come to find out, we dug deeper into it, and it must have been a deer. You know how they scream out their nose or whatever?
Yep.
So that's what it was. But yes, there's an example right there.
I've had something like that. I heard it. I thought it was wood knocking. I was looking for Bigfoot in an area where there had been reports and whatnot. But what I ended up finding out is the noises I was hearing were bucks that were bucking their antlers against each other. So I had never heard that in the woods before. I don't hunt, so I'd probably be more likely to. But I've been around a lot of deer, and I've just never ran across them doing that. So
yeah, I never did either. I had no idea what it was. My first thought was Bigfoot. I mean,
yeah, and it's just like with me with the thinking the woman's scream had to be paranormal. You get in that mindset, and then you think later. You come to your senses a little bit and go, wait a second, that's probably not the most likely thing, is it? All right. You've been doing this for years, so do you think ghosts evolve with the times? We kind of answered this, but we'll see what you think. Like, are 21st century spirits aware of our technology and culture?
I mean, you got to remember what the equipment does now. You know, equipment now, basically, most of it just produces EMF, or not so much EMF, but we have equipment that produces stuff that helps spirits, you know, like to communicate. So I don't. It's kind of tricky. I don't know. So
I mean, I would think they do, because when people renovate, for instance, they don't like it. So I think they're aware that we do things, but they want things the way they liked it in the past. You know what I mean? But I think they're aware of what's going on somewhat. And I know that it's been used. Go ahead.
You think they would be scared to see some weird-looking meter pointing at them, or
well, maybe they are. I mean, sometimes there's reactions that probably indicate that if you think it through. I mean, I don't know. I do know that it's been used as an argument against ghosts existing at all. Chris Hardwick, he's a comedian. Now, of course, I responded, and some people are like, are you really responding, like debunking a comedian? I'm like, yes, because he's joking, but he is making a point that touches at something, which is like, he's like, why are ghosts always old-timey, 1800s and this and that? But that's not true. There's ghosts that people have seen from people that died on 9/11, but the funny thing is, are we going to see a ghost standing there sometime, residual or otherwise, flipping through a cell phone? Like, that's what they did in life. So I don't know. But yes, there are modern ghosts that people do see as well. So it's not all old-timey, whether old-timey ghosts recognize everything or not. And then, like I said, the example with, we want the box. Like, that indicates to me that they can see them holding something, but they don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's true.
Okay, and okay, so this kind of touches, kind of not. Let's see what you think. Have you ever ran into something that didn't feel like a ghost at all, like more like an intelligence pretending to be one? So I guess that could mean demonic, or it could mean something interdimensional. A lot of people think shadow people are not human spirits, that that's something interdimensional or something. So I don't know.
I mean, that just goes back to that demon story. And then the last investigation we did was at a fraternity home at U of I. And I captured, which you can see it on the YouTube channel, a shadow. So you see me setting the meter. You see me setting the meter on top of the stairs, and then I'm walking back, and you can clearly see my shadow going from the right to the left.
Yep.
And then shortly after that, you see it's almost like it's running. You see a shadow going from the left to the right, the opposite way I was traveling.
Yeah, I included that in the video for the Crash Out Aristocrats, and everybody that looked at it was impressed by it. They were impressed by every piece of evidence you had in there, actually.
I don't
There's
fake
a face
anything,
that you guys captured as well.
No, I don't.
I mean, I'm your friend. I don't think you do, but still, I don't think that you're bad at interpreting things either. Like that, you had a face. I'm assuming that was something you guys captured too, like behind somebody. That definitely looks like a face. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, it's just, that's what it is. That's not matrixing. It's not trying to see something that's there. It's there. So,
and that wasn't captured by me though. That was sent to us. So that could have been altered, but I don't think it was
though. I get the feeling that it was real, and I've seen real ones that look just like that before too, or at least ones that seem to check out otherwise. But yeah, it's interesting. Somebody sent it to you anyway.
Yeah, that was at a bar, and at that bar, we were sitting at the bar table, and a quarter just came out of nowhere and was thrown across the bar table.
Well, there you go. Why would you need to fake something at a place where spirits throw quarters at people?
Yeah.
You know. All right. Well, that's half the questions. We'll follow up on this. Do a little teaser here. So we'll do the other 10 here sometime soon for anybody listening. Check back for that. Again, truthtellersradio.blogspot.com, debunkingdeath.blogspot.com. Check out my music at Crash Out Aristocrats. You can put hashtag Crash Out Aristocrats on TikTok. Hashtag Crash Out Aristocrats should also get you there on YouTube if you can't remember the whole URL, but it is youtube.com/@Crash Out Aristocrats. Go ahead and give your links again for everybody.
You can find us on YouTube at CIGH 2008, and if you can do me a huge favor and just hit that subscribe button just to grow my channel a little bit faster, that'd be awesome. And just search Central Illinois Ghost Hunters on Facebook. You can find us on there too. Very cool. Yeah. You should start doing some stuff on TikTok too, because TikTok censors a lot, but they don't censor They don't censor ghost material, but they do censor a lot. I've had a lot of accounts taken down on there. Thing is, YouTube doesn't take anything down, but they sure as heck throttle you, and they take subscribers from almost everybody these days. I think I've had like 1,000 subscribers that they took from me, and I know this to be true. Like, I went one day, I had a song about chemtrails. Okay, so I put this in every chemtrail group on Facebook. I gained 178 subscribers that day, and that's why. And the next day, they had taken them all. It's like, yeah. So please subscribe to any small creator you like on YouTube, because it's a we do have TikTok. Okay. I mean, people want to like that. That's CIGH Paranormal is the name of that. Cool. Very cool. Right on. Well, thanks, Shane, and we'll follow up soon here. Yeah, I'll be looking for more interviews. Shane at this point has almost become like a co-host of the show, so we kind of interview each other back and forth. Sometime we'll have to get some other interviewees on here, a third person on the line. We did do an interview like that, or a show like that, a while back with Justin Hammonds from Proof Paranormal, so we can go check that out as well. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yep, not a problem. Glad I could help. All right. Well, we'll talk again soon. Bye, everybody. Right.
If there's someone here, can you move the ball on the table?
Do you need any kind of help?